Hi everyone, welcome to this very impromptu live streaming session where I'm going to swatch out this new watercolor tubes that I have just bought during a sale recently at a local art shop. So today we are just going to chit chat. And alright, so let's see what tools we have before we start the swatching. I have some clips to clip onto the paper pad. We have some watercolor brushes. One is for painting and one is for wetting the paper. This brush, which is very blunt, this is for wetting the paper, and this slightly sharper brush, this is for painting. By the way, if the audio is too soft or if there are static, please let me know in the comment section below. And I will be answering questions. Sorry, that's some echo in the background. All right, if you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. And let me know if the audio is all right. If it's too soft, let me know. If it's too loud, or if there is any static, please let me know. So today I'm just going to chit chat with you guys and paint some swatches using these new colors that I have bought. I'm not sure how to turn up the volume. Maybe I should just speak a bit louder. All right, because I'm using a lavalier mic, maybe I can adjust the mic closer to where I'm speaking. Okay, so let's see, what should I do first? Let me show you what I'm trying to achieve in this video. So this is basically what I'm trying to do. I'm going to paint some color swatches and then cut this out and add all the swatches to my collection, which you can see here. So these are the Schminker colors that I currently have in my collection, and these are the new ones that I just bought. So for those who have just joined in this live, session, I'll be painting some color swatches with you guys today. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments section. Alright, so let me just move these 12 colors out of the way. There are 12 colors because I'm going to draw and divide this piece of paper into 12 sections. So this paper, by the way, this is the Fabriano Artistico Traditional White Cold Press Watercolor Paper, 300 GSM, and it's made with 100% cotton. So this is a 9 by 12 inch watercolor paper. I like to use this watercolor paper to paint color swatches because I think it reproduces the colors really well. So for those who have just joined in the live session, if you have any questions, just let me know. So I'm just going to divide this sheet of paper into half first. So this is 9 inches. So half of 9 inches will be about 4.5 inches. So let me just put a dot there. And 4.5 inches here. So now I can draw this pencil line across, and it should divide. Let me just check, just in case. It should be 4.5 inches. All right, so let me just put this line across. And just in case, I'm going to use this card that I have prepared just to measure. All right, so it looks like it's half and it's half here. So we have a question from Spaghetti Kid. Do you have any advice for stopping watercolor paper from bending? Well, you can try and get watercolor paper that is glued on all the 4 sides, such as this watercolor paper pad that I'm using. So when you have paper that is glued on all 4 sides, it will prevent the water from bending. And get thicker paper. Thicker paper bend less compared to thinner paper. Sometimes 200 GSM paper, it can be a bit wavy, especially when you are painting with a lot of water. So definitely get at least 300 GSM paper. So after dividing the paper into half like this, I'm going to divide this into 6 sections because this paper, this is 9 by 12. Another way to prevent watercolor paper from bending is to pre-soak the paper first. Basically wet the paper first, like soak it into water, and it will basically sort of treat the paper and prevent it from bending when you are painting later on. Hello everyone from all over the world. We have people from Melbourne who has just joined in, from Germany. Today I'm actually recording this live stream with my phone. I'm testing this live streaming setup so that in the future I may actually live stream from location while I'm out urban sketching, so that will be quite fun. Prior to using the phone to live streaming, I am not able to live stream on location because that would require me to bring my big camera and laptop out, so that's of course very heavy and it's a very troublesome setup, so that's why I don't do live stream outdoors. But with the phone right now, I will be able to live stream in the future, so I'm just testing out the live streaming capabilities of the phone. All right, hello everyone from Hawaii, from USA, from Perth, from all the different places. It's great to see you guys. I need to find the template that I am using to draw the grids because I need to find it somewhere. Could be in my drawer that I forgot to take out. Oh no, it's here. It's in my shelf. So this is the template that I drew and basically cut out using pen knife. So with this, I will be able to draw the boxes and then paint the swatches. We have a question from Carrie Graham. Curious if you have used Legion Stonehenge 100% cotton paper and how do you feel about it compared to Fabriano and Arches? I have only used the sample paper from Stonehenge, which they sell in those small cardboard postcard sizes, so I'm not I cannot remember much about the paper except that the quality is quite good, at least for the 100% cotton watercolor paper. I believe I have made a video on the Stonehenge sample paper that I purchased, but those are just a few pieces of paper, so I cannot say much about the actual quality when it comes to painting, because for that video I merely just created swatches. But Stonehenge, it's a brand that makes a lot of good quality paper. You can check out reviews for their paper online. Here in Singapore, we are not able to buy Stonehenge because there's no distributor here that sells Stonehenge paper, and it's quite expensive to import paper into Singapore because paper, it's very heavy and hence it's very expensive. All right, next question we have, why do you prefer fountain pens when you have a lot of felt pens that you can use? Any particular reason? This question is by Pratik Travidi. Oops, while I was reading the question, I actually drew this line a bit off. So why do I prefer fountain pens? I prefer fountain pens because you can refill the fountain pen very easily. And because you can refill it easily, it's more economical in the long run. You can buy a bottle of ink, a bottle of 30 ml, and you can use it for a very long time. This will save you a lot of money compared to buying disposable pens or those felt tip or technical pens. So that's one reason to save money. So even though fountain pens can be quite expensive, well, they used to be quite expensive, but nowadays you can find really cheap and good fountain pens. So even though fountain pens are more expensive compared to disposable pens, it's still worth the money because you can refill them. And you can refill the fountain pens with any inks you like, except for those heavily pigmented inks. So you can refill it with, for example, in my case, I refill it with waterproof ink so that I can use the inks with watercolor. Okay, so now I have drawn all the boxes, and now I can label the colors that I want to paint today. So today I'll be swatching the Schminker tubes that I have bought during a discount, a good discount by the way. If there is no discount for these watercolor tubes, I will definitely not buy them because Schminker here in Singapore, it's more expensive compared to Daniel Smith. Right, so the first color that I have here, this is Chromium Yellow Hue Light. So let me just write the name. Chromium Yellow Hue Light. This is by Schminker, made by Schminker. And let me just write down the pigment which is used. This is made with PY153 and PY155. By the way, if you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment section. This is a chit-chat session. So these two symbols here means that this paint is medium staining and it's transparent. So let me just write down the names for all the colors first. So I have a lot of colors today. I will end this live stream when I finish painting all the swatches. So next color we have Ruby Red. Let's see if we have any more questions from you guys. Next question also by Pratik. Do I need to learn figure drawing in order to become a sketcher? I love art but do not have any formal training. You do not need to learn figure drawing, but any knowledge of art will definitely help improve your drawing, of course. If you know basic art fundamentals, you can basically use those fundamentals to check your work to see if they are accurate. For example, not just figure drawing, let's say you know perspective, you can use the perspective knowledge to check your work rather than just drawing based on observation. So you don't need to know figure drawing, but knowing will help. So many of the friends that I met in the Urban Sketchers group, they, especially beginners, they have absolutely no knowledge of drawing, but they learn on their own and they learn from others. So after a while, they get really good with practice over the time, and they become better and better. So beginners that I see where they go to 1 or 2 urban sketching sessions, they're not that good, they're not that confident, but after a few sessions, they learn on their own, they get better, and they improve a lot. So the next color here, it's transparent red dip. So Schminker watercolor, they come in like 4 series. Series is basically the price of the watercolor paint, and series 1 is most affordable, relatively speaking, but series 4, it's most expensive. Daniel Smith has 5 series, and series 5 will be their most expensive. But relatively speaking, here, at least here in Singapore, Schminker, it's more expensive compared to Daniel Smith. So that's why I prefer to use Daniel Smith. Okay, so transparent red dip, this is PR144. It's actually not that easy to write and talk at the same time, I just realized. So making videos, like recording videos with my camera rather than doing live stream, it's way easier. Because now I have to juggle between writing the names correctly, making sure that I copy all the information correctly onto the paper, like the staining information, whether or not the colors are transparent. And I have to arrange the watercolor tubes here in order so that later on when I paint, I get the order right. Sometimes when I paint, I actually get the order wrong because I did not arrange the tubes. Right, let's see what other questions we have. Hello everyone. Hello to Reta from Finland, and New Breath from Russia. This is permanent carmine. Oh, permanent carmine is such a common name that is used to describe so many different colors that are made by other manufacturers. So in this case, for Schminker, they are using PV19, and PV19, it comes in so many different variations. So at least for Daniel Smith, there is quinacridone rose and quinacridone red, both are PV19. So let's see what we have. A light fast, and for the light fast information, Schminker, they used a 5-star rating, so this particular one is 4 out of 5 stars. Anyway, when you are doing sketching inside a sketchbook, light fast, using light fast paint is great, but you don't have to worry too much about light fast because your sketchbook will be closed anyway. So this is number 4, and this is number 5. We have vermilion light. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. Would you, and this question is also by Pratik. Would you be kind enough to do a video on where to start and what to practice when possible? All right, for beginners who are trying to learn drawing, depending on where you are, if you are a total beginner, I would actually suggest getting a book to learn, because a book will teach you the basic fundamentals in a very structured way, which may be easier for beginners to follow, because all the information, all the tips that are taught, all the techniques, the fundamentals, they are taught in a very structured step-by-step way. And as you go along with all the lessons, you will be able to use whatever you have learned before. If you are just learning from YouTube videos or free online sources, sometimes it's a bit difficult to follow along because it's not structured. They may actually present, for example, color theory before they actually teach you how to draw, but you should actually learn how to draw before you learn color theory. So I would actually recommend getting a book to learn drawing. And the book I would recommend for drawing would be Keys to Drawing by Bert Dodson. I have a review for that, which you can find on my blog. His name is B-E-R-T-D-O-D-S-O-N. Yep. So it's very difficult for me to think and write and record at the same time. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. Kaidusa has comment. Every time a color is called permanent something, it never have 5 out of 5 light fastness, and that is actually true. Permanent, when it comes to permanent watercolor, if it's used in a name, sometimes it doesn't mean that it has a total light fastness. The permanent actually has a different meaning, and I actually do not know what that means. Because when you use permanent to describe colors that are not light fast, the word permanent, it actually loses its meaning. Okay, hello Sandra from Switzerland. I have 6 colors already, so now this is number 7. This is manganese violet. This pen that I'm using, this is the Signal gel stick, which is waterproof when dry. I'm using this particular pen because this, by the way, is a disposable pen. I'm using this because the ink dries relatively fast, at least much faster compared to my fountain pen. So when I write these letters, I can be sure that later on when I paint, the ink has already dried. So this is why I'm using this pen rather than my fountain pen now. Oops, sorry, let me just cross that out. Wrote something wrongly. So manganese violet, this has a light fast rating of 4 out of 5, and the pigment here is PV16. So let me put this here. And let's go to the blues. We have Phthalo Sapphire. For some reason, Schminker, they like to use the name Helio to describe many of their blues. They have Helio Turquoise, Helio Cerulean, Helio something, but you don't see the Helio name used with Daniel Smith. So, okay, Phthalo Sapphire, this is opaque, sorry, not opaque, staining, highly staining, semi-transparent. It's light fast 4 out of 5, and the pigment is PB156. Phthalo blue, green shade is PB153. All right. So you guys, if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. I'll be answering your questions today. I happen to have some time to chit chat today, and the weather seems to be quite good for me to do this at home. The last few days have been raining in the afternoon. It's now afternoon here in Singapore, by the way. And today we have bright sunlight, so that's great for doing this type of videos. So this is dark blue indigo. We have medium staining, semi-opaque color, light fast, 3 out of 5. Indigo is not a particularly light fast color. So the pigment is PB60. One True Word asked me if I am in Michigan. No, I'm not in Michigan. Why would you guess that I'm in Michigan? I'm in Singapore. So I'm from Singapore, born here. Okay, let's see what is the next color. Chromium Oxide Green Brilliant. This is a long name. Chromium Oxide Green Brilliant. So this is for Schminker as well. And this is semi-staining and transparent. Light fast, 5 out of 5. So most of the heavy metal paint like cadmium, chromium, manganese, they are pretty light fast. So this one is 5 out of 5. And this pigment is a mix of PG18 and PG7. So now we are down to the last 2 colors. This is Perlin Maroon. Today is the 22nd of February, and it happens to be my birthday today. So I'm relaxing and chilling out today before I go out and celebrate with my wife. And it's a great day. Whenever there is good light outside, it's a great day for me. Okay, if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. And if the audio is bad, also let me know, because I'm testing this setup so that I can live stream outdoors next time when I am sketching outside. Okay, this is PR179 Perlin Maroon. All right, last color. This is quinacridone violet. All the quinacridone colors, they are quite light fast, and they are usually very staining. These are good colors. Quinacridone colors are good colors to have in your palette because they are really worth the money, as in their tinting strength, it's really high. So you just need to use a little bit of paint and you can get really vibrant colors. So these quinacridone colors and phthalo colors, they are really worth the money. And these are actually chemical colors, so they are not as expensive compared to those natural colors. So this is also PV19. So earlier on there was a PV19, yeah. So earlier on, permanent carmine, that's PV19, and quinacridone violet, it's also PV19. So the light fast here, it's 4 out of 5 as well. Okay, I'm not sure how long I have been streaming. I've been talking for quite a bit, so let me drink some water. Wait, I think someone asked me about Daniel Smith watercolor paint. Rita, I'm trying to choose Daniel Smith colors to buy. Have never used them, but they look awesome. What do I recommend? Well, it's very difficult to list some colors. Just choose the colors from series 1 and 2 because they are cheaper and you can get a lot of good color selections from series 1 and 2. Some colors I recommend would be Hansa Yellow Medium for yellows, quinacridone Red, quinacridone Rose, quinacridone Magenta. For warm reds we have Pyro Scarlet, Pyro Red, and let me try and prop this up slightly so that when I paint the water can flow down. Let me move the camera to the front slightly. Oops. So I'm using this my phone today to paint this. Let's see if I can move this further. So I need at least the paper to tilt slightly so that the paper, so that the water can flow down. Okay. Daniel Smith, what else? Pyro Scarlet. For blues, we have Phthalo Blue, French Ultramarine. These are the very classic colors you can get from any brand. So they are all good quality because the pigments used to create all these colors, they are pretty consistent throughout all the different brands. And White Nights, White Nights is very good as well. Just that for White Nights, they have, I believe they have a lot of honey or honey in the paint. So when if you squeeze them out into pans to dry, they will never dry. Schminker and Daniel Smith, they are good for you. They are good for squeezing out into pans because they dry very nicely. But White Nights, Sennelier, Jackson's Art, they have a lot of honey in them. They do not dry ever, like ever, even in a dry climate. Okay, so let's see what other questions we have. Is it important to learn all the differences between quinacridones and cobalts? Catherine Levison, actually no. It's not important to learn the qualities. I mean, you can see the quality of the paint just by looking at some of the information on the watercolor tube. Like sometimes if there is a triangle, that is how staining that paint is. For staining colors, you can you can paint onto the paper, and when it's dry, it's permanent. Like you will not be able to wash it off. But for some colors that are not staining, when you paint onto the paper, you can actually wash it off, make the paper clean again. So those are the non-staining colors. What you need to learn is actually where the colors are on the color wheel so that you can use them appropriately. And the color wheel is very good for when you are mixing colors to basically to help make your colors more harmonious. Okay, so let's see what I'm going to do here. I lost track about that, what I'm going to do. So let me just paint this. Should I paint this first? No, I should paint here first. So usually when it comes to painting watercolor swatches like this, I will want to wet the box below. So for the box above, I will have the color, the saturated color. Let me make sure that I'm using the right color. The saturated color. This is too dry. Let me add a drop of water here. So I have the saturated color right up there, and I will have the blending, how the color blend right below. So I have two brushes. One is a brush that is really worn out. This is going to help me wet the surface, and this sharper brush will help me paint. So this is chromium yellow light, and it looks like a cadmium yellow or Hansa yellow medium, a stronger version of that, and it looks really beautiful. Maybe I should zoom in closer for you guys to see. So this is a mix of PY153 and PY155. Okay, let's see if I can zoom using the zoom function. All right, unfortunately there is no zoom function for my handphone camera, so I am not able to zoom in close for you guys. I hope you can just see it. Maybe I can adjust the tripod to make it seem like the paper is closer. Yep, let me just move this down further and point it. All right, so I think this is much better. Is this still focusing correctly? Okay, let's see if you guys have any questions. Do you have any questions? Do you use Paperlike for sketching? Paperlike, by the way, if you guys do not know, it's a screen protector. It's a matte screen protector that's used on the iPad to provide a paper-like texture when you're drawing. And paper-like screen protector for the iPad, it's very expensive, relatively speaking, compared to other screen protectors, and it's not something I would recommend getting. You can get a screen protector, just don't get Paperlike because it's a waste of money. Because you can get similar quality from other unknown brands. Paperlike is just too expensive. Last time I checked, it seems like Paperlike is charging US $30 for 2 screen protectors. And I mean, $30 for 2 screen protectors, it's just insane, because I bought 2 matte screen protectors on Amazon. The brand is Super Shields, Super and SHIELDZ, and that's only US $10, and the quality is also very good. So I don't understand why people will want to spend $30 to buy matte screen protector. I absolutely do not recommend that. But if you search online for Paperlike reviews, you will see many YouTubers, they actually give very positive reviews for the Paperlike screen protector. And yes, it works really well. It does work really well. But I can say that for much cheaper screen protectors as well. So that's why I don't recommend that. And the thing is, Paperlike, the company, they actually send out all those free screen protectors to YouTubers. And of course, when you receive freebies, sometimes some reviewers, they tend not to talk about the negative aspects of things. So I mean, you can talk about how the screen protector actually performs, but ultimately you still have to talk about whether or not it's worth the money. And many of those YouTubers, they just leave out that part. So that's why sometimes when you look at reviews online, you have to sort of understand the motivation behind the review, who is sponsoring the video, whether the person reviewing has any kickback from the company. Sometimes it may not be a paid review, it's just the company would send out freebies to the YouTubers or reviewers. But even so, sometimes it can create some conflict of interest. So if the company Paperlike were to give me free product to review, I would absolutely tell you guys not to buy $30 screen protectors. Do not buy $30 screen protectors. No matter how good they market the screen protector to be, do not spend that money to buy $30 screen protectors. It's insane. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. Oh yeah, I forgot. Always append your questions with the big letters QN so that I can identify them very easily. Because sometimes the chat section, too many people post too many comments and everything gets pushed down too quickly. It's very difficult for me to find where are the questions. So please help me by appending your questions with the big letters QN. Okay, this is transparent red deep. This is PR144. This is actually the first time I've used this particular color. I've seen this particular pigment. It says that it's it's not an opaque color. It's a staining color. So the triangle means it's staining. A black triangle means it's highly staining. Okay, let's see what else. What other questions do you have? The next color is permanent carmine. I realized that using my phone to live stream, it's a pretty good idea because my phone's battery can last quite long. And it has connection to the internet, so I don't have to bring a computer to connect my camera to the computer. Permanent carmine, this is PV19. Okay, let's see what other questions do you guys have. I'm not sure if you guys realize, but nowadays I have not been posting a lot of YouTube videos. I mean, I'm still posting a lot, but I'm cutting down on the number of YouTube videos that I am posting. I'm only uploading videos, posting videos about once every 2 days because I have to take care of my kid and that takes a lot of time. So instead of posting like one every day now, I'm just posting one every 2 days. And I do not make videos every day, but sometimes when I have the time, I would make a few videos a day so that those videos, they can be posted over the week. Permanent carmine looks like a nice color, looks like a cool red. So when I use too much water, I will use the tissue to pick up the excess water. As the water flows down, it's easy to pick up the excess water just by pressing the tissue on the paper. Okay, let's see. Vermilion light. Next color is vermilion light. Vermilion is supposed to be it's not a particularly light fast color. So here it's light fast 3 out of 5. It's a nice warm color, by the way, a warm red. So let's paint this. Okay. By the way, let me know how much paint costs in your country. Like, if you use Daniel Smith, how much is a tube of Daniel Smith in your country? And if you use Schminker, how much is Schminker in your country? And where do you buy it? Do you buy it online or do you buy it at art shops? So for me, I try to buy at the shops so as not to pay for the shipping. Here in Singapore, Daniel Smith is sold by Street Art. We have Daniel Smith, we have Schminker, Old Holland, White Knights, Daler Rowney, Winsor & Newton. I think we actually have a lot of brands of watercolor here in Singapore. And the most expensive brand here in Singapore is actually Winsor & Newton. For some reason, it's extremely expensive. And it's sold by Art Friend. So even though I really like Winsor & Newton, I don't buy Winsor & Newton. I only buy paint that is easy for me to replace when I run out of paint. And paint that is cheap for me to replace when I run out of paint. Okay, so this is Vermilion Light. Okay, we have a question from Catherine Levison. I have a 12-pen set of Schminker. Would you recommend the tubes? Tubes are more value money compared to pens because one tube like this has 15 ml. There are also 5 ml tubes. So for 15 ml tube, you can refill a half pen about 6 to 7 times. I say 6 to 7 times because sometimes when it dries, sometimes the paint would actually shrink in size. So sometimes you cannot fill as many pens. But a tube like this, it's way more economical than compared to buying those pens. And for Schminker, they dry really well in pens. So I do recommend getting tube pens to refill your pens when you run out of paint. Okay, next color, Quinacridone Magenta, PR202. Light fast rating 4 out of 5. All this light fast rating depends on the test by the companies. So different companies will have different tests. So the light fast rating from different companies will be different. For Schminker, they use this 5-star rating. For Winsor & Newton, they have this A, B rating. For White Knights, I think it's out of 3 stars. So sometimes it's a bit confusing. And now let's paint the gradient. Question from Richard Meeker. Any good pens that do not clog or cost that much? If you do not want your pen to clog, do not use inks that clog. Actually, it's the ink that clogs. It's not the pen. So try to look for inks that specifically say they are safe for use in fountain pens. Not all inks are safe for use in fountain pens, so look specifically for inks that say that they are safe for use in fountain pens. Another way to check whether or not the ink is safe or not, this actually applies after you have bought the ink, unfortunately, is to look at the area around the tube. If there are physical particles around the ink bottle, if there are physical particles around the ink bottle at the opening, do not use those inks in fountain pens. Those are very dangerous inks. I actually have a lot of ink reviews on my blog, so you can check out the ink reviews. but it's whether or not your pen clogs really depends on the ink, not the pen. Okay, let's see what other questions. Where is your next sketching trip going to be? By Dewey. This year I'm not going to be going anywhere, unfortunately. I don't think I will be going anywhere. And with the virus, you know, what is it called now? COVID-19 virus around, traveling doesn't seem to be a very good idea right now. Okay, so this year, unfortunately, the Urban Sketchers Symposium, which is supposed to be in Hong Kong, that has been cancelled. So, and not just cancelled because of the Hong Kong riots, also because of the virus. Oops. See, this is not good. So I need to find a pen very quickly to put this in the pen. Okay, so one tip when it comes to painting swatches is always have a half pen somewhere close to you, so that when this sort of thing happens, at least you can quickly put the paint into the pen rather than have it splatter out everywhere. So unfortunately I have some paint on the sides already, but I can use the paint on the side. Let me just use my watercolor brush to paint. Okay, so this is manganese violet. This is a beautiful violet. It's granulating. I do not have violets or purples in my palette because I can mix violets or purples. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. Have you ever tried Bao Hong paper? It's cheap and it's 100% cotton. For those people who don't know what Bao Hong paper is actually a brand of watercolor paper from China, and it's supposed to be 100% cotton. And it seems like the price is very competitive, but I've not tried that paper before because I basically have too much paper to test. So I need to finish using all the papers that I bought in the last year, finish using them before I can buy new paper. So I can't say much about the Bao Hong paper, but I would love to try that because I'm very interested to find out whether or not China can make good quality watercolor paper, because good quality watercolor paper is quite expensive. If you take a look at the pricing of watercolor paper from Archers and Daniel Smith, sometimes it's a bit expensive and it puts off a lot of people when it comes to using watercolor. Okay, I need to find some way to get this paint out of the cap so that I don't waste the paint when I squeeze the cap back onto the tube. Okay, right, this is the metal rod that I have that I use basically to dig out watercolor paint. So let's see. Let me push. I realized that I may need to adjust the camera slightly. Let me just adjust the camera slightly so that it can go closer to the paper. Okay. I think this is slightly better. Okay, I think this is slightly better. So I basically have this metal rod that can help me dig out the paint so that I can save the paint. And I have to do this very slowly and carefully so that I don't get my hands dirty. Okay, let me close this. Let me put the cap back on the tube. Okay, make sure it's tight and put this pen away so that I do not accidentally knock on the pen. And now with this tube I can just clean this tube. Clean this rod. Okay, so let's see what other questions we have. A question from Malaysia. Have you ever tried outdoor painting in JB? I would love to join if you do. Johor Bahru, by the way, it's a city in Malaysia, and it's just beside Singapore. So sometimes I actually go there, but not that often. I've actually sketched with the urban sketchers from JB before, a few years ago, but I've not been to JB to sketch since. So if they organize any sketching sessions, I may actually join them. Hopefully if I have the time, of course. Question, what are the best brushes you have used? The question is from Rita. The best brushes are, when it comes to watercolor, those would be the Sable watercolor brushes. They have a very good spring to them. The Sable brushes are very sharp, so you can use them to paint details really nicely, really easily. So this, by the way, it's a Sable brush, but I've used this for many years, and the tip it's already blunt, but it still has that spring, and you want the spring because you want the brush to return to its shape. If the brush cannot return to its shape, such as a mop brush, the brush will be very floppy and it's very difficult to control, and it can be difficult to paint with. So Sable brushes, regarding of the brand or the manufacturer that makes Sable brushes, most Sable brushes are very high quality Sable brushes, but they are very expensive. But they are expensive because they are good. And if you treat your brush, take good care of your brush, treat it nicely, they can last for a very long time. Okay, this is Phthalo Sapphire PB156. As mentioned earlier, phthalo and quinacridone colors are very highly staining colors, and they have very high tinting strength, so you just need to use a tiny bit of paint and you can get a very intense color. But sometimes the colors can be too strong, so strong that it's not that easy to use. You always have to neutralize the color, as in make the colors more muted. As for brands of brushes, if you really want to go with brands for the brushes, Da Vinci makes very good watercolor brushes. Rosemary from UK, they make really good brushes as well. This brush, by the way, it's a Rosemary brush. It's a collapsible brush. Escoda from Spain, they make really good brushes as well. And when you want to buy brushes, someone like Spaghetti Kid mentioned, always buy from Jackson's Art. Yes, always buy brushes from Jackson's Art, because if you spend above 20 UK pounds on brush purchases from Jackson's Art, you get free global shipping. So the prices of brushes on Jackson's Art, they are quite competitive, and if you spend above 20 UK pounds, you get free shipping. So yes, it's really worth the money. I always buy my brushes from Jackson's Art, especially for brushes that I cannot find in Singapore. This brush, this is a Novskaya Palitra brush made in Russia. For those who have been following my YouTube channel for a very long time, you can probably recognize this brush from many years ago. I'm still using it. We have a comment from Alan Estrada. You should do a review of Princeton travel brushes, both Neptune and Elite brushes. Maybe I should, because a lot of my brushes, they are quite blunt and they have been with me for many years. There's some sort of sentimental value to them, so I sort of miss them. I will miss them if I throw them out. So that's why I'm still using all these blunt brushes for such occasions, such as painting color swatches. So maybe I do need to throw out a few old brushes and get some new ones. So maybe I will review the Princeton brushes in the future. Rita says that Daniel Smith cost a fortune in Finland. Daniel Smith is a US brand, so I'm actually not sure whether or not the country that makes the paint, whether it actually affects the price. Like if there's a US company that makes paint, is the paint cheaper in US? For example, is Schmink cheaper compared to Winsor & Newton in Germany, because Schminker is made in Germany? Dominic W asks, 5 ml tubes or 15 ml Daniel Smith tubes? Oops. 5 ml tubes are good if you are not sure whether or not you are going to like the color. So for example, if you want to investigate whether or not a color is suitable for the type of work that you do, the type of subjects that you paint, and you spend money to buy a 15 ml tube only to find out that, oh, I actually do not like that color, then it's going to, that 15 ml tube is going to be with you for a very long time. So unless you know for sure that you are really going to love the color, I actually may recommend getting the 5 ml tube just to test out the color. But if you're very sure you like the color, then go ahead, get a 15 ml tube, because it's more worth the money. Because it can last much longer and there's economies of scale when you buy a bigger tube. Okay, I should have wet the paper first, so let me just try and wet the paper first. M. Graham paint. Someone mentioned M. Graham. Catherine Levison. M. Graham and Daniel Smith are inexpensive in Seattle. M. Graham paint, from what I can see, at least from the prices that I see on Amazon, they are really worth the money. So M. Graham, you can buy individual tubes or you can buy them in sets. And the sets, if I remember correctly, is they are usually around, actually I cannot remember, but the only thing I can remember about M. Graham is they are cheaper in sets and they are very price competitive. So M. Graham is a brand that I can recommend as well. You see this tube, it has a lot of bubbles. This is Chromium Oxide Green Brilliant, PG18 and PG7. Alright, let me just wash the brush and fit this to the white of the paper. Okay, if you have any questions, please append your questions with QN. Singapore is indeed doing better when it comes to containing the virus compared to other countries, because we do very stringent contact tracing, and if anyone is found with the virus, all the family members will be in quarantine, and we are very strict about the quarantine. We actually have people who will call up. We don't have people standing outside the doors, but we have people who will call up the people who are in quarantine to see whether or not they are really in quarantine. So all these are strict measures of quarantine. Actually sort of it actually works at keeping the people safe from the virus. The last two colors, we have Perlin Maroon, PR179. Okay, let's see where's the color. Is it Perlin Maroon? All right. So, okay. We have questions from Recovering Soul. So, all Daniel Smith then. I'm in US, but not sure which good brand to get. If you're in US, you can get Daniel Smith or M. Graham. But M. Graham is best used from the tube, because M. Graham has honey as well. So if you squeeze them out into pans, the pans will never dry. And this can be a problem when you keep your watercolor box, because if your watercolor box is upside down in your bag, the paint is going to flow. It's going to flow out of the box. So if you want to use those half pans, then get paint tubes that dry properly in pans. And Daniel Smith is a good brand that dries quite well. Schminker is a good brand that dries very well in pans as well. But in US, I guess Daniel Smith and maybe a better choice. But even so, in US, the price for Daniel Smith, it seems to be a bit high. At least here in Singapore, the price of Daniel Smith tubes, they are actually cheaper, slightly cheaper compared to US. Okay, let's see what other questions do you guys have. Oh, who's this? Amher Goparian, whose birthday is today as well. Happy birthday. Okay, we are almost done with this swatching live stream. If you guys have any questions, you can continue to ask. Question, can we see Tiffany later? Tiffany is at my mother-in-law's place. Anyway, nowadays, if you realize, I don't really post a lot of videos or photos of Tiffany, just to protect her privacy. But she is now almost 2 years old. Next month will be her birthday. Time flies really fast. So next month will be her birthday, and she is now about 12 to 13 kg, which is quite heavy for me to carry. Back then when she was born, she's just 2.6 kg. So if you go back and watch the earlier videos, you can see her, and she is just so small. But now she is very big and very naughty, and likes to run around and likes to go to the playground. And when you tell her to go home, she will scream at you. The two words that she hates are go home. And every time I bring her to the playground, her face will light up. She knows, she understands the playground. Is this? Yeah, this is Quinacridone Violet. Let's see, what other questions do you guys have? What city inspires you the most for painting or sketching? This question is by 12 Panda. I've been to Barcelona, Madrid, New York, Tokyo, Hanoi. All these cities, they have their own charm, they have their own beauty. So all these cities are great for drawing and sketching. I don't really have a particular preference. As long as I'm overseas sketching, I appreciate what I see. And that's the thing with urban sketching. When you are drawing or painting overseas, you slow down, you sit down and draw, you get to observe the city very intimately, very closely, and you can remember more of the city. So it doesn't really matter which city you like. Which city inspires me. All the cities, they inspire me. All the places that I've drawn, they inspire me. So this is quinacridone violet PV19, and this looks very different from permanent carmine PV19. So this is more violet. Oh, we have a comment from Rawsprit. I don't find M. Graham a problem in my travel palette. I just let the pen firm up a day or so. Whether or not the paint will be a problem really depends on the climate. So if you are living in an area where the humidity is very low, where the climate is quite dry, then the pans, they can dry up pretty quickly. But here in Singapore, where it's very humid, where if I were to step out of my apartment for 5 minutes, I can sweat. It's very humid. The paints for M. Graham, they really don't dry. White Knights, they never dry. Okay, so this is almost done. Let me drink some water first. Question from Barika. Do you let your friends try your supplies, especially the main palettes? I don't. I think all the sketchers, all the artists, they are very precious about their own colors, because we don't know what colors are there on your brush, and it may actually contaminate colors in my palette. So I don't usually let my friends use my palette. Okay, let's see if we have other questions from the comments section. Question from One True Word 1988. Do children in Singapore learn English growing up? We learn 2 languages when we are growing up. So we learn English and we learn mother tongue. So for me, I'm Chinese, so I learn Mandarin. For Malays, they will learn Malay. For Indians, they will learn Tamil. So it's always 2 languages, English plus the mother tongue. Okay, Catherine Levison says, why so many rates? Basically, I'm trying to test out the different, I'm trying to collect the rates, because I don't have a lot of schminker rates. These are actually all the schminker rates that I have. So I have a lot of yellows, but not a lot of reds. That's why you see a lot of reds here. So I'm going to wait for some of this to dry before I use the scissors to cut out. Does Tiffany do any art? She does not do any art, but she knows how to draw. Let me show you a photo of her drawing that was drawn recently. So Tiffany, by the way, if you guys don't know, she is my daughter. She's almost 2 years old. All right, this is a picture of a drawing. Please remain in your seats so that you don't fall out of your seats. So this is the drawing that she made a few weeks ago on the chair with crayons, and thankfully I was able to wipe off the crayons. If she had used markers, it would be disastrous. So that's the type of drawing that she does now. Basically, I wouldn't call that art. That is probably vandalism. But she's very cute. I'll just let her have a book, a sketchbook to draw, and she can draw in the sketchbook. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. What are your thoughts on Fabriano Artistico cold press watercolor paper, the 100% cotton paper? This is the Fabriano cold press 100% watercolor paper, and the quality is very good. Some people prefer Arches, which I find, I mean, the texture of Arches watercolor paper, it's a bit more sandy. The cold press paper from Fabriano, I find it to be slightly smoother. I actually prefer this texture, but you do have to try Arches or Fabriano in order to decide which paper is the right one for you, because paper selection, it's very personal. Some people really swear by Arches, but personally I prefer Fabriano over Arches. And another question from Recovering Soul, which brands come with full pens? Winsor & Newton come with full pens. There's this brand from Belgium, Blocks, B-L-O-C-K-X. They come in full pens as well. They also come in like giant pens, half pens, full pens, and giant pens. Kramer pigments come in full pens. Kramer pigments only come in full pens. Oh, by the way, for those who are in USA, you may want to consider getting Kramer pigments because they make really high quality paint, and the price is also quite competitive. So these are not dry yet, but they are dry enough for me to cut. I just have to be careful not to touch the wet surfaces. Okay. No, I will not be giving Tiffany Sharpie markers. I will not even be showing her that markers. I will not even tell her that markers exist. I think I'm going to buy some water-soluble crayons for her so that I can wash off whatever she draws on the chair or on the doors or on the wall. So I'm going to cut this very carefully. I usually do this when everything is dry, but for this video, let me just cut this just to show you guys some action shots rather than just the swatches. Question from Myher Goparian. Other than ink capacity, why do you prefer Pelicans? Actually, the reason why I like Pelicans is because of the ink capacity. When it comes to fountain pens, as long as the nib is the same, if fountain pen A uses the same nib as fountain pen B, to me they are the same pens. Even if the first fountain pen is like $500 or the second pen is like $10, to me they are the same pen, same fountain pen, if they are using the same nibs. But I like Pelican because it holds a lot of ink, and I can bring it overseas to draw without having to bring extra ink bottle to refill it, because when I load the Pelican M200 fully, I can draw for a week without the worry of it running out of ink. Okay, let's see what other questions you guys have. What do you think of Hanamule paper? I have only tried their sketchbook, and the sketchbook is quite good. The paper is not 100% cotton, but it can handle watercolor quite well. So because it's not 100% cotton, some of the watercolor techniques like wet on wet techniques will be a bit challenging. So it's going to be a bit difficult to get the colors to blend, to get the paint to move and blend softly. You can have the paint blend softly like this on 100% cotton paper very easily. But on non-cotton paper, most of the time you're going to get sharp edges when you try to blend the colors, and when you put the paint down, the paint will just sit there and it will not move, even if the surface is flat. So that's the main difference between cotton versus non-cotton paper. I have recently bought some cotton paper, 25%, 50% and 100% cotton paper, which I'm going to use to make a video to show you guys the differences. Next question from Dee. Do you also use hot press smooth paper? Yes, I do, but very rarely, because most of the paper that I have bought recently, in recent months, they are all cold pressed, but I do enjoy using hot press paper a lot. Hot press paper is good for painting details, it's good for working with pen and ink. The feeling of drawing with pen and ink on hot press paper, it feels really nice. I really like how the ink comes out from the pen tip as it goes across the smooth paper. It's a really satisfying experience to draw with pen and ink on hot press paper. Let's see what other questions you guys have. Oh, the watercolor paper that I was using earlier, that's a watercolor block that is glued on 4 sides. Sambe7 asked the question, have I tried Bauer watercolor paper before? As mentioned earlier, I've not tried this China paper before, but I'm going to test them in the future when I run out of paper. Question from Kukatsunjen. Do you have a new list of watercolor pens that you are selling, and are you still selling them? Yes, I'm still selling watercolor pens. So you can check out the list of colors that I am selling in the video description below, or you can do a search for paint sale on my blog. Basically, why I sell watercolor paint is because when I buy tubes like this, sometimes I may not like the color enough to use it fast enough, so it makes more sense for me to sell the colors to make space so that I can get more colors to test. So for these colors, for example, purples, I don't use a lot of purples or violets. So I mean, a tube like this, if I were to use it myself, 5 years later, this tube will still look exactly like this, except maybe the label will be yellow. So that's why I sell some of the paint, and I can get some of the paint at very good prices. So the pricing that I am selling these pens at, they are all inclusive of shipping. So you can check out the list of colors that I'm selling in the video description below. Okay, another question from, I think I've pretty much answered almost all the questions, and I've pretty much done with all the color swatching. So yeah, I will be putting up this live stream on my YouTube channel, so you guys can watch, so that you guys who have just joined can watch later on at your own preferred timing. Another question from Alan Estrada, is rotring ink waterproof? Rotring ink is waterproof, so you can use rotring ink with watercolor, no problem. Just make sure the ink is completely dry before you use it with watercolor. Good thing about rotring ink is you can buy it in those small tiny bottles that are meant to refill. Let me show you. I actually have a bottle of rotring ink here. Yes, this is how rotring ink looks like. They have this tapered tip that allows you to squeeze the ink into those fine liners, the rotring isograph or rapidograph. They are sold in tiny bottles like this, 23 ml, and they have the really huge bottles that are available that you can use to refill tiny bottles like this. This is waterproof and dry, and from what I can see, at least you see the area around the bottle opening, there are no physical particles, which means if you want to use this ink in fountain pens, you can actually do so. But for inks that have physical particles around the opening, do not use those. So Rotring ink, highly recommended, and it's very black and it dries relatively fast and it's not too expensive. Okay, thank you guys for watching this live stream, and thank you all for questions, for all your questions. I hope I have answered them all. And yeah, I think I'm going to end this video now. It was nice chatting with you guys. See you in the next video. Bye.